All right, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. It's been a couple of weeks now. Thanks for tuning in on this summer day here in California. It's in the we're talking about maybe I need to mute my feedback here. Come on. There we go. It's 82 degrees today here in Northern California, which is, summer temperature. We like that that would happen maybe a little bit, later, but that's okay. Lots of things have happened in the travel world, and we've had a couple of events which, people are slowly but surely starting to come back to the FTU in person. And the last event we had was the FTU in LA, where about 50, 60 people purchased tickets to attend with our partnership with the Travel and Adventure Show. So it's a little bit slow for now, but having 4 events back to back, obviously in 4 different places, is probably the way that the FTU is going to be in the future, regardless. And, this coming weekend, after the 2nd and the 3rd, we're going to be in Dallas for a full weekend at the Hilton Garden Inn, Dallas Market Center, with a barbecue also on Sunday, which is going to be Saturday. So that's going to be a cool gig that we're looking forward to. I'm going to be there myself, and we're also have our partnerships with the Travel and Adventure Show happening there, which is also kind of a cool thing. So those are the things for those who continue to want to keep doing online stuff and are not ready to travel just yet. The next FTU Online is on April 9th, so the week after the next is when that's going to happen. Great lineup, and as usual, and a good way to start off your Saturday. So today we're going to chat a little bit about, we've got a little bit of everything. The lineup for today is we're going to be talking about what's happening in miles and points more than anything else, but obviously some other things that interests me in the travel world. So I'm going to bring in Marshall Jackson, who's going to be hosting today with me, tuning in from Washington, D.C. and the nation's capital. So here he is.
Well, that's a lot of me on the screen. I was sitting too close.
There you go. Got to get a wide angle for both of us. Huh? So what's going on in your world? What's happening?
Oh, not much. Just working on my second business trip of the post-pandemic era after completing my first one a couple of weeks ago.
Do you so what do you mean working on? You're planning which hotel you're going to be on and what plans to bring and things like that? Or?
That's right. Doing a little planning.
All right.
Maybe out your way end of April.
Wow. Okay. I got to remember to be home then. So
right away.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Cool. Good times. So we're going to chat a little bit about we can't get outside. We didn't get to cover the fact that the biggest theft in the aviation industry happened here in the not very long ago, about 10 days ago, where Russia decided to seize some planes from all. So the vast majority of the planes that are in Russia, the Western planes, are leased,
right?
Which is a kind of a crazy thing and it got me to thinking of, we know how the dynamics kind of works with this stuff, but sure. At the end of the day, it's kind of a little bit, we kind of don't know what happens. I own a plane, I lease it to you, and you don't want to give it back to me. And, if that was a car, you obviously, if you show up 3 years later and when your finances have improved, it's not like I'm going to be running after you to, give you a brand new, give you a plane anymore. That's
Sure.
obviously not a realistic gig. So what is your first initial thought to all of this stuff?
I guess follow the money or money talks. So I guess the way it works is Putin's basically nationalized the aircraft fleets or whatever, and they're just going to stay in Russia.
Right.
I got a hard time believing that's sustainable. But
Yeah, there are many problems with this. As a former pilot, you obviously have, the paperwork of a plane is, and all of us who are watching, who have been sitting on a plane, waiting for paperwork to come when they have to fix something like a latch for an overhead bin,
yeah.
or anything rather. It takes a while.
Oh, sure. Aircraft registry and the nation states that aircraft are registered, and it's kind of a complicated thing that I only understand a little piece of.
Right.
My understanding is most of the Russian leased aircraft are registered in countries other than Russia, but kind of based there and operating in and out, which is a little different than the way your average U.S. airline would do it. U.S. airlines lease a lot of aircraft too, but they'll be registered at least in this country.
Right. So after this news broke, and this article is from Fortune magazine, which went a little bit further than the other guys, calling it, stealing, which it technically is, March 15th. So it's been, 10 days and 9 days since this was. So there are 515 planes that are foreign owned. And these, all of these planes have been, repossessed, and the contracts have been terminated, which means that the plane are supposed to be turned back into the owners, which I don't see how you can do that with the airspace being closed and all. So many things to think about here.
Yeah, no doubt. And I literally don't know how you get those aircraft back. I suppose one could hope that all this ends and things begin to go back to normal, and sooner or later, they start paying for those airplanes again, or they fly them somewhere where they can be repossessed.
Right.
Outside of Russia. That's the only thing I could see.
Right. Yeah, because if the good thing that that came from all of this was, of course, that there was still planes, Aeroflot planes, operating outside of Russia, and also for some of these charter planes going down to the Caribbean. They were, you could watch them on Flight Radar 24 go all the way up to Murmansk around Norway, and to get into to international waters, so they were able to fly. But that has ceased. They're not doing that anymore. So that the good thing that came from this is that all of the planes are now, there is not a single Russian carrier that's operating any flights outside except for to Belarus. Right. Even China is not doing it. So I want to just take a quick peek over at the folks over at Flight Radar 24 to take a peek. And obviously what we're seeing is that, the area around the Ukraine is still, kind of dead. And we see some, U.S. activity. This is the Titan Airways, which is obviously some sort of a military charter of some kind. And there are still, some movement, but this airport at the border sees a lot of, I saw a C-130 take off. There we go. The C-130J, the newest one, on its way to Prestwick in Scotland. So there seems to be there's nobody that's crossing the border. Russia's on its own, but of course we see Chinese-owned airplanes that are, passing over Russia at this point. And so. And this is one that's it is an RA registration, and North Star is a subsidiary of Aeroflot. So this is an 800, obviously owned by somebody else, still flying. don't know if they're making the payments or if it's even possible for them to make payments, right?
That's another question. If you've been cut off from all the financial systems, how do you do that?
Right. And I think that's, it's an interesting gig. We're seeing, actually, it's incorrect, the information that's here, that nobody's operating flights into Russia, because some of them are. I saw, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan are still flying and into Russia. But besides that, their closest old allies are still doing it. But what we're seeing here is obviously Chinese airplanes flying over Russia is normal. And they're getting a big advantage. Now you can see that everybody's kind of creeping their way under, down here is a typical thing where you will probably find, here's a British Airways flight to Bangkok who has to creep its way south and around, and it's taking, forever, right? It obviously is a massive disruption of massive cost to airlines to operate now. And I also
expensive fuel.
Yeah, no kidding. Here's Dubai is one of the places that Russia did until recently. They were operating in. Here's United from Delhi to Newark, which normally would have gone straight across the pole.
Yep.
God knows how long this. So it's 4:55 a.m. This is supposed to land at Newark, which it's a long flight from what it normally is.
Oh, big time.
So, but anyways. But what they've also said is also the maintenance of these planes. They're technically, their registration has been revoked, so they're flying illegally, which means that technically they don't have an insurance. I'm not sure how that would work, but also they will not be getting maintenance. They won't be getting parts, and a lot of them have the Boeing Gold plan, right? Which is that Boeing takes care of the maintenance, which they don't do anymore.
Absolutely. So they're not going to be flying for long, even if they are, if they have been nationalized or essentially stolen. But
that's interesting.
The first time one breaks, then it's just going to have to sit where it's at.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's that, but they might try to fix it with whatever they have. It's not like we haven't seen a lot of Russian places. I mean, I know there was a. Up where I'm from in northern Norway originally, there was they fly in there on the Antonovs and they pick up salmon to fly to Japan. And there was this captain who they are required by Norwegian law to do de-icing. They're not allowed to ignore it. And there was this captain with his broom who was, they have the top wings on these things. I don't know what it's called in English, but the wings are the high mounted wings that we see on many aircraft. And he was up there removing snow from this from an airplane. And the guy, the ground crew came out and said, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I'm removing. I do de-icing." And it's like, no, sorry, Sonny. There's nobody cleared for takeoff here but it's so expensive, that wasn't going to happen.
No,
we'll see what
happens me up there.
Yeah, this is obviously costing everybody a ton of money, and there's looking at the wheat, all the wheat that we're getting from Ukraine, and it's just a bad situation for everybody. There's nothing good that can come from this, and for the aviation industry, longer flight times, got tons of gas. Some would claim that these planes are worthless because the logbooks are gone, and they are not going to be. It's not going to be possible to resell them with all the missing stuff on the. That's what the article says. I don't know how true that is.
But there's a way to do it, but it's going to cost a lot of time and money to bring them back into service. Should they ever be seen again?
Right. All right, I want to cover another thing that's more, I wouldn't call it happy news, but interesting news today. We saw that Alaska Airlines are making some big moves on their fleet. And I would say they were talking about going back to having a they were talking about going back to having a single. They were an old Boeing fleet, and the way that they got away to saying that the main line is Boeing, and main line will be going back to being just Boeing.
Yeah.
And with the acquisition of Virgin America, they got a couple of buses, and including that, a couple of 321s of the last generation that has just been delivered.
Yeah.
And now they're looking to get rid of the Neos like immediately by the end of 2023.
I was surprised to read that, but apparently the financial terms of the leases of those airplanes are not really up to snuff, at least by Alaska standards. I'm not surprised they're headed back to all Boeing or single fleet type, but I thought they might keep those NEO airplanes around a little while because they serve the long haul Seattle, like DC off the short runway, San Francisco, DC, again, short runway here in DC. They really enable Alaska to serve the market with a lot of seats and not much in the way of weight restrictions. I believe, at least I'm correct on that.
Yeah, the 321 Neos are they've got long legs for sure. Yep. So it's I'm surprised by it, but we've seen also the 320s. I was on my first Alaska, coincidentally yesterday. I was on my first 320. It was kind of weird to say the least, but they have redone them over to standard Alaska interior with that plexiglass quote unquote bulkhead and that's weird as stupid curtain that's like hanging off like 12 inches in the middle of the. That's so weird to try and make it, and compared to what Virgin America used to have with their they had a rope actually there, like a
and the nice recliners, the parka lounger style seats.
But how with there being such a big carrier, how are they going to really justify doing these transcons when, I haven't been on a transcon that hasn't been lie flat in a long time. How is Alaska going to address that, and also giving away these 321 Neos of brand new planes that has a little bit of extra room and also are pretty? I assume that the lease terms that they had that Virgin America had was probably poor because they've never made money.
Exactly.
So I can't imagine they would get the best deals out there.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised they couldn't that Alaska couldn't make given the market and where it's at, that Alaska couldn't make some adjustments in the finances of those agreements. But I guess those NEOs are pretty much in demand, so the lessors can probably place them.
Right. Yeah. Those are the ones that what's his face down at Qatar tried to buy, and Airbus wouldn't sell it to him.
No, sure. I'll tell you, Alaska's value proposition to me is that they're nice people, pretty easy to deal with. The app works. They're polite on the ground and in flight, and people may just tolerate that to a point, given their their market placement and things. I don't foresee a scenario where Alaska drops in lie flat seats on these new Boeings they'll be buying. I think they're going to stick with what they got because it's been working so far, and we'll see if that keeps going.
They got a lot of competition though from LA and San Francisco, which is the major markets for Virgin America. You really think that they're going to be able? They must, they have to dump the prices though to get people to hop on board the old the old sit up straight street seats that they have.
I don't know if they're after that clientele that would pay the kind of bucks to the lie flat seat folks, like the 3-class American Airlines, the A321T. I don't know. I think Alaska has a very dedicated and loyal following, I think, and their customer base will probably stick with them. But,
I can see that for the Pacific Northwest, the guys who are based in Seattle for sure. They've got the best frequent flyer program in the U.S. for sure right now. I mean, they still let you earn your status and your miles and points old school style, which is a good selling point. But I'm more concerned about the other markets that they are now kind of moving into. Like mine is one of them here in Sacramento, where they started flying, and also San Diego is one of them, where they've started to have flights to various areas. They fly from here to like Idaho or North Dakota, some potato country. I don't flyover states, what they call it in the West.
Right.
And they also flying to, Portland and Seattle. They're flying to San Diego from here. They're flying to various destinations from here. So, but I don't think the affiliations are there, but for those flights, it really doesn't matter. They also fly to Hawaii from here, by the way. So, I'm just a little concerned about the whole thing, but in their home markets, yes, they're strong. Delta was bullying them for a while, but it doesn't seem to have shaken them up pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's room for both of them in Seattle, and I was kind of suspicious about that for a while, to be honest. But
no, I mean, Delta has made them better lounges, better better products on that sense. But it's the thing that from here to from the West Coast to the East Coast, that's solid. So I flew last week. Sunday I flew this week. This Sunday we just had. I flew from Newark to San Francisco. That's 6 hours of mayhem. That's not a short flight. That's like almost the same as JFK to London, right?
Yep.
So it's sure is a long flight to sit, and there are ways to get that to be more comfortable without forking out the big bucks like the movie stars do.
No doubt.
All right, we're gonna. So, by the way, we forgot to mention the most important thing here, which kind of blew me away a little bit, that they're retiring also the Q400s.
I know, and I'm surprised to see those go just from a fuel efficiency standpoint with fuel prices where they are. Because turboprops, I know they're maybe not so popular with customers, but they're really a lot more fuel efficient on some of the shorter routes at those.
Right. So you see. You see this is from Seth's website from PaxX Aero, and they have these shorter routes going to like areas around Seattle. Also, they're flying not in addition to that, they're also flying to Medford, Oregon, which I flew yesterday, which was on a Q400. We had a great flight. I don't even care if there's a little bit of vibrations. To me, it's a two-seater, and I'll take the Q400 any day over the CRJ 200.
CRJ 50-seater.
So yeah, and I guess those are going to be filled by Horizon. That's going to get their own, and they're also going to do some SkyWest sourcing as well. I think I read somewhere. Let me see here to see if that's the. Yeah, I mean it. Right now, when gas is expensive, the Q400 has merit. They don't make it anymore, so there's a reason for that. But I'm surprised that they're choosing this as the time to do it by the end of 2023. It's not that far away.
No doubt. And I'm surprised too. I was surprised. It's kind of disappointed. I have a soft spot for the Q400. I think it's a good looking airplane.
I think it does too, and it also doesn't lead as much runway, and it gives you opportunities to fly into other markets. So, all right, we are gonna move from the mountains of Oregon to cruises and fancy pants cruises, like super fancy pants cruises, like the fanciest of all fancies. That includes princess and queens and. No kings, though. It's always the queen and the princess, right?
I think that's it.
Yeah. So we're going to bring in Michael Trager from the finest small city of America, Charleston, Charlotte.
Charlotte at American Airlines hub.
Yeah.
And a great place.
Great place to be delayed in and out of, for sure.
Hey, we've got 2 daily flights to London now, and Charlotte Rome starts up next month, and we have Charlotte Madrid.
Is that's actually or?
No, Charlotte Rome is on your favorite 777-200 on American Airlines.
Wow. Then all of these American American fans who it's like a it's like a what is it called, like a phobia when with America. Oh, we're sitting backwards. We can't sit backwards on a plane. It's like it was always the thing with BA. Everybody's taking a pot shot at them for having the seats backwards, and that one, some of them have that backwards seat. So you went on it was your dad's 70th anniversary?
No, it wasn't. It was my dad and my stepmother's 40th.
40th, yes, there you go.
Yes.
So, and you decided to treat them to a transatlantic cruise in the middle of winter from Hamburg to London and from London to New York.
Yes, they happen to love the Queen Mary too. And actually, it's a very unusual transatlantic because regularly the Queen Mary would be on a world voyage, because next year it's world cruise time. They're back to 117 nights next year for their world cruise. But this year, since they were not doing any world cruises, they were doing additional transatlantics, tag teaming Caribbean. So you could go from Hamburg to Southampton to New York, 2 weeks in the Caribbean, back to New York to Southampton to Hamburg. And I met a number of people who were doing that. So it's like 35 days, something
Well,
like
these are
that.
retired people, obviously. They got nothing to do.
Yeah, a lot of people asked me if I was going to stay on. I mean, I was having a great time with my little cigar club. But
there you go.
I was thinking it could be a good thing to do for the entire winter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good practice for retirement.
So it's not really, if you go off season, it's really not that expensive to do this. So the normal one, they start in London and Southampton and goes to New York, right?
Yes, exactly. They have a couple that start in Hamburg. Cunard happens to have a rather large German market. Right. So this ship was basically British, UK passports, German passports, and Americans were pretty far down the list. I think there were maybe 150 Americans.
Yeah, I snagged that photo. Let's take a peek at that, but in a little bit. But let's actually, why don't we just dive into it? So it's 7 days from Southampton to London, right? No, from Southampton to New York, right?
Yes, exactly. It's seven nights, and then you add 2 nights if you start in Hamburg. So it's pretty slow. They obviously are not doing it for speed; they're doing it for a relaxing transatlantic. I guess the biggest differentiation to make with the Queen Mary is that this is the only ocean liner still in existence. Everything else is a cruise ship. So an ocean liner is designed differently. An ocean liner is actually 40% more expensive to build than a cruise ship because
it means you can't tip over, right?
Yeah, it's meant for the kind of conditions that you get in the Atlantic. So that's pretty special. And it's not Cunard does these regular transatlantics, so it is not it's not a positioning cruise, because there are a lot of other transatlantics that are positioning, and that's a great way to get value. I mean, some of those are fabulous. And
so let's look at I found on their website here on the gig here. Let's see here. So they start at like $1,000 from a Britannia Inside, which you obviously you don't want that, right?
Yeah, and actually this year it started as low as $699.
So this is $900. This is $900 is for 2 people for an Inside Standard, which is in August. So there's not going to be as much weather there. But if you want a whole like a porthole gig, it adds a couple of $250 per person. And if you want to have a balcony, you are going to have to pop up to 500. So ocean view is so you get a obstructed view, which is looks like there's a lifeboat hanging outside.
It's like the obstructed. That's exactly actually the balcony obstructed views are exactly that. Their lifeboat obstructed.
Right.
Obstructed.
And then you've got, so if you were going with a real balcony like the one you had, it's $22.50 per person.
Yeah, and that's about That's pretty standard. I mean, there are a lot of promotions with additional, shipboard credit. They also have promotions. Cunard does about 6 weeks before the journey. They
All
lower,
right.
they drop the prices down. The difference there, since you have it up there, so Britannia Club, what they do with Britannia Club is basically it's single seating dining. That's the main difference between Britannia Club and
What does
regular
that mean?
Britannia.
You eat by yourself?
It means that you get the table for the evening starting at you can just dine anytime between 7 and
Okay. So you
9:30.
can go whenever you want.
Yeah. So what's different, and it's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of people, Cunard is still doing very traditional, cruises where
Yeah,
people.
let's dive into that. But just to cover, I got the photo, so I got you a picture of you in a suit. So if you want to go into the only difference is that when you have dinner,
You get a club balcony, which is basically the same as the regular balcony, except they put them all on one deck. I think they put them all on 11 deck.
right?
And then basically there's a separate area of the Britannia dining room that is just for Britannia Club, and you have that table for every meal.
Okay.
And for every dinner. So, and some people like that. Now, that is the same way that Princess Grill works and Queen's Grill works. So, for Princess Grill and Queen's Grill, you have the same kind of thing.
So
You
what
have a
about the
table.
king? He doesn't eat?
No, he doesn't. You have a table that is yours every night, and it's just yours for 3 hours. You can order whatever you want. You can pre-order whatever you want, and they also do grills dining to the staterooms. So it's pretty exquisite. And what they offer as far as high-end I mean, I guess the best way to describe it is take whatever the best add-on dining you have on another ship. Take whatever the best, whatever the best is, and that's what you're getting in Queen's Grill and Princess Grill. Very small number of people. You've got your table for the night. You can have caviar every night if you want. I mean, you really are getting, obviously no additional upcharges. And then the other thing.
So, what about alcohol? Is alcohol included also?
Well, they have a lot of promotions for Princess Grill and Queen's Grill. If you book it, they include the unlimited drinks package. So
Okay.
that's a promotion that's going on quite a bit. So that's something that's happening. And then when you get the unlimited drinks package, that immediately gets you 20% off of bottles of wine, which is pretty good.
And how much does that package cost per day if you were to buy it?
If you were to buy it, the unlimited drinks is $69 a day. So it's
that's
quite
not
pricey.
so bad.
I mean, it depends on how much. I mean, it depends on how much you want to enjoy. If you want to go to lunch and have a glass of wine, if you want to they have some very good sommeliers who surprise you with lots of interesting glasses of wine with different courses. If that's your style of dining and you enjoy that, and you want to try a different sherry and a different dessert drink, I mean,
think I would, if I were to be on a ship on the ocean, open ocean for 7 days, I think I would like to have some wine with lunch. Yes.
So that it's a great ship. There's a lot of activities. Some of it gets a little bit modified when you have really bad weather, but that's not the norm.
Biggest benefit of the Princess Grill, though. Velour robes and slippers. Yeah, that's pimping right there.
That's your Tommy.
That is me for sure. Well, I like the velour. I got to tell you, if I were to ever get a caddy, that would be the thing I would get for sure.
They also Princess Grill and Queen's Grill also has their own lounge, and they also have their own deck
in the lounge. What do they have in the lounge?
You can do tea in that lounge, and you can do pre-dinner canapes and things like that. So it's, I mean, grills dining, I would say from everything that, I am aware of, grills dining is at the top of, ocean liner dining. I mean, maybe equivalent to maybe like Crystal was or Seabourn is or things like that, because it's really, it's a very, upscale classic thing. And that's the other thing with Cunard. They still like the idea of, people dressing up for dinner. And most people sort of like it. There's a lot of ballroom dancing. There are a lot of people dressed up. It's relatively fancy. But it's sort of fun. I mean, it's an experience. That's what people, I think, are doing it for now. And I think I've heard some criticisms of that from people, but I think from a market perspective, it makes a lot of sense because every other ship has gone like 30 restaurants and, dine, dress however you want and dine whenever you want. And
You don't have
Cunard
to
is,
wear shoes or anything.
yeah, I mean, they do have some alternative dining areas, and the new Queen Anne, which will launch in 2024, will have additional. But that's not as big of a thing on Cunard, and especially for people who pay for grills. You wouldn't pay for grills and then want to go to the King's Court buffet. Like it would make no sense because you're paying all of this money for grills. As far as service and the way they're operating, ship was 60% full. The Queen Mary 2 is about 2,500 passengers. It's on the size of the ship that it is, it could easily hold over 3,000 passengers. So even on a full ship, it doesn't seem that full. And at 60% full, it definitely didn't seem. Cunard is, I consider it a little bit overboard on the COVID testing. You need to show your tests before you go on, but then they basically test every 3 days.
Right.
They don't charge you for the tests, but they do tests constantly. So we had an additional test in the middle of the Atlantic for no other purpose than them wanting
There's nothing
to
else
test.
to do,
Yeah, there's nothing to do. So it's an activity, lateral flow testing.
Yeah, candle making and shuffleboard and
yeah, that's I found that to be pretty interesting. But I think they're really erring on the cautious side right now. They really want to catch cases, if they happen to come
well,
up.
we can understand that because outbreak, that's how the whole thing started with the COVID and the Diamond Princess over there in Japan. So yeah. So I can understand that too. So how about, let's look at some photos. So this is your cabin right here, right?
Yes, that is a balcony cabin that's not obstructed.
Right. And so, and for those who are wondering, so I've been on a few cruises. The plastic stuff on top is for you to put your bag so you can do the unpacking. And they removed that actually after, for the first turn down. So that's what that is. A lot of pillows. They give you all at once so you get to pick, or?
No, they were all there. And it's the cabin. I mean, for me, I was on a pretty decent deal. I mean, it's a great cabin for one person. I mean, another thing to mention, they do actually have a lot of single cabins on.
Do they have windows in single cabins?
Yes, they do, but they're much smaller and they're a twin bed. So this is quite. I mean, the bed. I have to say, thumbs up on the bed. I mean, the mattress and everything, really, really good. I mean,
I think it's only, kind of the bed has been a focus. And I think Marshall also, where the hell are you? There you go. A lot of the cruise line, they have a focus on having comfortable beds and like specific beds, right?
Yeah, the beds have improved quite a bit. I took my first cruise in 2004, and the bed was awful. The mattress was about this thick.
Right.
Even your mass market cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, maybe even Carnival, have really improved the bedding.
Got it.
Over time.
All right, let's look at some the next picture here. You're having a caviar service in your room?
Yes, you could do that. There is an upcharge for that, which was super reasonable, and I decided to do that for breakfast one day because
I see land in the background there. I think it is. So you weren't over the Atlantic just yet when you had that, or
that was over the Atlantic because it was the day before the last day. So it was finally when we got out of the weather because we hit 3 storms, and much like American Airlines, we arrived in New York 4 hours late.
There you go. Well, it looks like enjoy. So how much was the upcharge for the caviar?
I think it was $50, 50 or 55. It was really cheap, and it was a lot of grams.
That's nothing.
It was, a lot of the thing that impressed me a lot is the, bottles of wine. But I told you about that champagne promotion on Valentine's Day where they had the Laurent Perrier rosé for like $75 a bottle. I mean, which is like, anybody who
the same price at the store here.
Yeah, so that's really pretty good. Cunard does let you bring on 2 bottles of wine, I think, if you really wanted to. But when you're flying.
All right, so here you are in your cigar lounge. You spent a little bit of time there, huh?
It's great cigar lounge. It's next to the Commodore Club, which is one of the most popular clubs at the front of the ship with great views, and they have a traditional cigar lounge with great attendance, and it's a very interesting conversation place, but quite enjoyable. And very close to my cabin. I wanted my cabin near the cigar lounge, and I wanted my cabin near the spa. Now the spa used to be a Canyon Ranch spa, but it's no longer branded as Canyon Ranch since COVID. But they've got a really super nice spa with a lot of water treatment areas and everything. But remember now, the Queen Mary 2 is getting a little bit older. That's a ship that launched in 2004. So that's doesn't have all of the newfangled features that a lot of the ships have. Unfortunately, they've just rolled out. I heard they finally rolled out their further internet improvement, Wi-Fi improvement, just about a week or two ago, which I hear is much better. Where you actually have a choice of speeds. I'm not sure if it's working in all the cabins, but it's working in the public areas, which I think is pretty great.
All right, so let's move on to the next photo I got here. So the veranda, is that kind of the fanciest place?
So the veranda is their fancy. It used to be Todd English, actually, and
Really?
it's their additional charge fancy restaurant, which is an additional $35 for dinner.
And then you can eat dinner when you want, so not like an animal that you have to go. Here's your mashed potatoes, splat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the veranda is a throwback to veranda grills on the old Canard ships. So a lot of what they're trying to do is, all of this nostalgia. I went to a great wine lunch at Veranda, which was probably overkill, but it was really, really nice. My parents had friends that got on in Southampton, and they were doing Southampton to the Caribbean, back to Southampton round trip. So we all had a nice time together. But
I recognize your dad, and but who are the other people that are here?
Those are their friends that joined us from Southampton. So we did that on purpose.
Is that the veranda?
No, that's the main dining room.
Okay, and that's where you had between 7:11 p.m. and 7:35 to eat?
We ate. We would go to dinner every night. We had that table. We went to dinner at 8 o'clock, I think, every night.
Right. Did they have any entertainment and stuff?
There is lots of entertainment on board, but since we eat dinner late, we pretty much do the pub. We do usually the pub entertainment afterwards, and I do the cigar lounge after that. But we don't do any of the shows. They have a lot of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
and you were dressing up a lot, I see too. You were in a suit almost every day, huh?
I was. Are you proud of me? Isn't that great? I can still tie a tie.
I am. I'm surprised. That's interesting. I wear suits 3 times a year for the award ceremony and for the loyalty summits. That's the only time I wear a suit.
It drives me crazy sometimes, but it was sort of fun. And honestly, when you're on a transatlantic, you have all this time to get dressed. I mean, you have all this time.
So
all you have is
time. Were there Americans that were there that refused to wear a suit, like they refused to wear a mask, or how did that work?
Usually I ran into, there were not a lot of Americans. I ran into one American couple that the only reason they were on the ship, oh, you're going to love this story, is because they brought their they brought their 2 cats to Berlin, and the cat escaped the carrier on Delta. And they're now banned from flying on Delta. The cat, it was just made a huge.
It was running all over the plane.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I love it.
So they had a cat. So they had these cats that they needed to get back to the United States. So they booked a passage. Here's an interesting thing. So they have kennels on the Queen Mary, and the kennels for dogs and cats only. But if you have a cat, you got to pay double, because you need 2 kennels, because you need one side by side that has the kitty litter, and then you have to have the cat. So it's a fortune. I think it's like $1,600-$1,700 for a cat on transatlantic.
You got Cunard points for that?
I don't know. It was, but that was the interesting. So they had no dressy clothes with them, and I guess they didn't want to rent or deal with it, so they didn't go to the main dine. I met them at lunch, and we were chatting at lunch by coincidence. I was at the table.
Well, they couldn't afford to rent us tux because of the prices they had to pay for their cat.
Yeah, I think they weren't. I think they weren't thrilled to be on the ship, but they needed to get their cats back, and they didn't want their cats to go in under under the plane. So
Right.
that's
And here you are. Okay, so you got the BA and sometimes on Tuesdays on American Airlines champagne there, huh?
exactly, yeah. And well, because the main contract with Canard is Laurent Perrier. So that's how they've actually branded. It used to be the Veuve Clicquot champagne bar. Now it's all LP. Everything's
Yeah,
LP.
well, LP is like light years better than Veuve Clicquot. Veuve Clicquot is it's like the brand that everybody's heard of, but nobody has and because everybody's heard of it, they're grossly overpriced for what you get. So you're scoring big time.
Yeah,
Now,
so they did.
let's see here. And also, you met speaking of international, this is an evening at the Cigar Club. What happened there?
Oh, that guy was from Norway. I met a Norwegian.
Cool. He needs a shoe shine.
Yeah, I know. He was in Queen's Grill though, so a wealthy Norwegian.
Queen's Grill, huh?
Yeah.
And he came to, so they don't have their own cigar lounge?
No, they don't have their own cigar lounge, but it's
It's
nice.
the only time they have to hang out with the commoners.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. Actually, I met some very, very interesting people. I also met the Roman Catholic priest who was the pastor for the ship. The Queen Mary is one of the few ships that has, I guess, clergy and mass all throughout the year. So not just on holiday periods. I don't know. Maybe you know more about that, Marshall. I'm not that into the religion.
Really? No, I did not know that.
So they have
I'm surprised though, but isn't it British? So the British, they kind of don't like Catholics so much.
Well, he does. I guess it's multi-denominational, but they do mass at sea every day at 8 a.m. And on days when they're in port, they do mass at 5:30 a.m.
Interesting.
So he's pretty. So that was sort of interesting to find out. And actually, I had a great conversation with him. Nicest guy in the world from New Hampshire, and he's hoping next year to go on the World Cruise, which is a great gig, for a retired priest. I was like, this is a good gig, and he's like, yeah, I love it. I mean, hey, he's got to still do mass every day, but I mean, it's cool. So that was just interesting learning about that. They had great lectures. They had a guy who did a whole thing on the Beatles, and I love that. And I met him in the cigar lounge, and he was talking to me. And then they have a lot of interesting, like semi-intellectual lectures, historical, environmental. They do a lot of that kind of stuff.
So no red baseball hats on board to be seen, I assume.
No.
All right, let's look at the nationalities, because I found this pretty interesting. So the vast majority are obviously UK citizens, and then Germans in second place, and Americans are in like a distant third, right?
Yeah, and look, and I was so lucky to get I met one of the Norwegians. There were only 6 of them, I mean, that's
and one of them was grilling.
Yeah, and remember, they're doing it by passports, I guess. So I mean, that's
so they might obviously live somewhere else. So that's interesting. That guy from Finland, he was all by himself.
Yeah, I thought this list was fascinating though, but it does show you how they really market to Germany and the United Kingdom. I mean,
I think that it has to do with where they started there, right? So
I think it has to do with that. I think remember. Afternoon tea is a big deal. They've got 4 different types of afternoon tea. You've got the regular afternoon tea. Then they have a special champagne afternoon tea, which has an upcharge. Then they have in the Godiva lounge, they have a Godiva afternoon tea. I mean, there's like more afternoon tea than you could have, what to do with if you wanted to.
If you only drink coffee, you're screwed.
Yeah. Well, no, the Godiva lounge has great coffee. They also have a great pub. The pub is really, really popular. Great fish and chips. They have darts. I mean, it is a quintessential British. It is very, very British, and it's pretty cool. If you like that kind of thing. So obviously, it would be very attractive to people in the UK. I mean, I think a lot of it, makes a lot of sense. Also, this idea, people I spoke to said, I was going to just go to the Caribbean and then get off in New York and fly. But since the rates were so good, they said, and then I don't have to deal with going to the airport in New York. I'll just, if you have the time, doing these round trips. I mean, who wants to
How much
fly?
was it extra to go down to the Caribbean? And how many days was it?
Caribbean was another 2 weeks.
Okay.
and then
Oh,
another.
wow. Okay, 2 weeks. Okay.
That's a
Well,
lot of.
obviously, that's a little bit more than going to the airport and dealing with
Yeah.
that. Right?
I mean, though, what is fascinating about that is I mean, we hit that big storm that was on the way to the UK. I forgot what the name was. Was it Eunice or something like that? And, think you're in this horrible weather in the middle of the Atlantic. You get to New York, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in St. Kitts.
Right,
I mean,
no kidding.
that's pretty cool. I mean, I think also Cunard has a lot of very
Right.
interesting voyages. So I mean, that's
So let's see here. So you're coming in. You go under the Verrazano,
Yep.
and
Thankfully,
how far
we
was
fit
it? Could you almost touch it?
it. You know what? It didn't seem that bad, but that's pretty amazing. I love that shot. And actually, since we were 4 hours late, this was beautiful because the arrival in New York was at a normal time. Regularly,
Right.
you get into Brooklyn at 6 a.m. So now
Right.
all of a sudden we were in at a nice time, and they have their own terminal in Red Hook. So Cunard has a large terminal center in Red Hook, which is pretty cool. The only bad part that I found a little bit disorganized was the disembarkation, just because we were 4 hours late. And
There you go.
the
Is
minute,
this it?
yep, the minute you're 4 hours late, it throws off just everything. But one of the nice things that they're doing now is they're just because of COVID, they're just telling you to stay in your cabin. So instead of waiting in going to breakfast and waiting in one of the general rooms, they're basically telling you to wait in your cabin. So that's pretty good. Also, a lot of distancing on Cunard. No bar. You cannot sit at a bar. So bars were not open for sitting, and lots of those kind of signs saying, this is for social distancing. So they're doing a lot of distancing. You can't sit in any of the bars. So they're really being pretty. I was pretty impressed.
Right. No, and I completely get that because of the chaos and also trying to get old people. Obviously, we're not talking about springbucks going on these cruises. So you're going to have a couple of old timers with walkers and stuff that are visiting. So obviously there's going to be the number of people who are in the risk range is obviously higher, and you don't want that. You want these customers to be safe, and you want them to be coming back. And after all the controversy we saw with various stuff in the beginning of the COVID, I can totally get that. So yeah. So would you go again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, I don't know when, but I think it was great. I mean, I loved it. My main complaint is it would be almost perfection if we had good internet and you could really get some work done or other things done,
Come on, you're not going to do work on a thing like that. I wish they didn't have internet at all.
I would. But it was great. I mean, I love it. I think there's something. I've always loved the ocean liners. I love that whole classic kind of feel to it. I think it's awesome. If they also have, Queen Mary 2 has one of the largest libraries at sea, over close to 8,000 volumes. So you've got lots of. I mean, it's a great. Read, relax, go to the spa. I got a great shave one day. They, great manicures, pedicures, discount programs if you do manicure, pedicure, and all that kind of stuff.
That's for you, Tommy.
Yeah, just for me. I'll bring my fungus on.
We should all
offshore.
go.
Yeah,
we'll make sure you're okay, Tommy.
There you go.
And they have a little casino, which is not so great, but they took a lot of space away from the casino to make more single cabins. That was in the big refit in 2016. So you lost a bunch of space from the casino, and you actually lost the craps table, which was sort of upsetting because that's
well, I don't think you're going to see people jumping up and down shooting craps there in the
yeah, I have a feeling it was probably but but it was nice. Everyone's really nice. I mean, the service was great. I can't fault anybody on.
Hey Marshall, should we go on that August 28th one? What do you think?
August 28th. I think we this year.
I didn't look. I closed the window. Sorry, but I mean, $1,000 for a week on a boat.
I tell you, I think that'd be a pretty fun deal.
Right. I think so too. We can, yeah, and we get the drink package. I think the drink package is cheaper here than I paid the last time I went on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I mean, they have other packages. They have like the non-alcoholic beverage packages and things. I mean, I hear different opinions from different people on it. And that's, but it's pretty good. Well, let me know when you want to book. I'm converted.
Yeah, so make sure that you, for everybody watching now, we don't have a lot of people watching live, but for those who watch the replay, contact Michael. He's got the at Travel Zork with a Z. If you could just tweet him on the Twitter, do him on go on the Twitter, or go to travelzork.com and you'll get a hold of Michael. He'll set you right up with that cruise, and you'll get a lot of stuff extra, because you should not book cruises directly. I mean, I think I've never done that myself, because you get a lot of goodies by not doing it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing today is, like every other travel brand, if you can work with someone, or a travel agent or somebody you've worked with, you don't have to deal with calling Cunard and getting through on the phone if you have a question or a problem. Because remember, everyone has the same problem today. Calling Cunard is no more beautiful. I mean, I have a special line to call, but I try to do most of it on their automated one source system. But like every other travel brand, calling tends to be hold times. It's just the way it is. So it's one thing you don't have to deal with. Let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah, no kidding. Also, they don't speak American, they speak English. So it's going to be, since you lived in the UK, you know how to talk to them, right?
It's the princess division. It's all people on the West
The princess division. Okay, well, that's perfect for
you.
you.
Remember, Cunard has princess. It's Carnival.
Great.
Carnival owns Cunard. Remember? I mean, that's the crazy thing about it. It's just people don't realize it's Carnival UK. But I mean, hey, it's smart to have different brands, different things different things for different people. So
yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on and to share the experience. We would love to do it ourselves, and maybe we will someday. I just got to find something that's not in February and that works out. So I definitely not. I'm looking at the picture you posted of the weather. I didn't post any of those because I thought maybe the viewers would be a little nauseous by looking at it. But thanks for coming on, Michael, as always, and talking about the experience. And, like I said, contact him if you want to book it, because there are some great deals to be had. So, and that's the booking a cruise, and Marshall will attest to this as well. That's one of those things that you don't do yourself. You have somebody else do it, because you'll always come out on top on that.
Find yourself a good travel agent.
There you go.
There you go. Well, thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Take care. All right. So we've got one more thing I want to talk about today is the JW. They decided for the first Marriott, brand or Marriott hotel that's opening as a wilderness lodge in Africa, where you go and you look at the lions and lions and zebras and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of a cool gig.
That is.
So it's a JW, and it's going to be in Kenya, in the Masai Mara area. Hang on first. So this is the area where, was it in Kenya or is it in Tanzania?
I'm not.
Can't believe I said Tanzania, because you know what? That's not what it's called. That's what Trump
Tanzania.
So it is in Kenya, and it's the in Masai Mara National Reserve, and we did that. We were in there at was it a Fairmont? I think it was like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago, maybe. And let me put it up on the screen here. I saw this on Hotel News yesterday. It's obviously. So a lot of people they've been tooting their horn about that Al Maha in the UAE, and I can't bring it up many enough times to tell the story about the UAE. Like there's the guy, when we went to Oman, we went to the UAE first, and we're there for a couple of days and it's pretty much the Al Maha is a great place. The food is phenomenal. The villas are nice. But it's like a wilderness lodge with no animals. I mean, they've got some falcons and they've got some oryx walking around there, but that's it. It's like you go to these places for the animals, right? That's why you go to wilderness lodges. And so the guy at the Ritz-Carlton Al Bustan Palace in Oman that we got was our next destination after Oman. He said, "So where did you go before you come here? You go visit someone else." And I was like, "Well, we went to UAE, to Dubai, and to Oman. Why'd you go there for? It's just sand." So which you can't argue with that. I can't tell you how many times, regardless how much they build there, you're still going to have sand in your shoes. But let's look at it. So the Big Five. So this is at River Talek, which is kind of close to the border of Tanzania. And it's going to be at JW, and it's opening in 2023. And I'm sure it'll be, what's the top category now? They changed that, so it's based on the revenue. So that's why they can probably introduce this one, right?
Yeah. 500,000 points a night.
Something like that. Well, they aren't, not all of the hotels. So the Four Seasons on across the border, right? The Four Seasons is right across the border where the Great Migration happens. And it starts at about like $1,200-$1,300 a night, baby, including all of the stuff though. So, and I assume that this will be as well. I don't think we had alcohol included in when we went there for the Fairmont, but everything else, like the game drives and all that stuff, it'll be interesting to see. But it's a little bit too late because you can't use your points at a reasonable level, right?
Sure.
So, do you ever been to one of these places?
I have not. I have actually. Africa is a continent I have not visited yet.
It's a blank slate. Well, I think. Well, I mean, you will be able to use your Marriott points. We don't know how many it's going to be, and it's obviously not going to be bookable before the changes start. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably going to be, if you have a boatload of them, like Randy Peters needs, what does he got, like 17 million Marriott points or something like that?
Along those lines.
Yeah, so he could probably stay there for at least 2.5 days.
Exactly. And, he could probably even take us with him.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's actually, I'll get on that. I'll talk to him and see if we can get
see
that
what
going.
He says. This looks like a really interesting property and concept, though.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, at the end of the day, there are quite a few of those things, but it's good to kind of have an option to do. So we did one redemption, which was at the Tanda Reserve, which is before leading hotels became revenue based. We stayed at, it was like 2,500 a night. It was in KwaZulu Natal, so you fly into the eastern part of South Africa, and it was beats the hell out of this area here for sure. The place, I think they had like 10 villas or something. It was amazing. Right. And so we were able to sneak in a couple of free nights with leading hotels of the world. And I think we paid for one and then we got 2 free. I don't remember exactly what it was, because then it was you could stay at a leading hotel and you could redeem at any one, which one you wanted to. It didn't matter how much it cost. There was no categories or anything. That's obviously long gone, but that's how we were able to do it. So it looks like kind of the same style. 20 private tents is the gig, and one presidential canvas top pavilion, and 2 interconnecting ones, ideal for families. So we're talking 24 total rooms here, or villas, and I'm not going to lie to you, Melinda slept like a rock, but in the middle of the night, when you sleep in a tent like we did in the same area as this place is going to open, there are things awake in the jungle, my friend.
Things going bump in the night outside the tent.
Yeah, it was everything from you could hear the hippos down in the river to monkeys jumping on your tent and sliding across your porch, and other things I don't want to think about, to be honest with you. But So we had the villa in KwaZulu Natal, and I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a light sleeper. It was, so beware that you're not alone out there.
Noted.
You're on somebody else's land out there, so that's cool. No, I would totally recommend doing that. I think that it's cool. I think it's a thing to mention. We'll see how it plays out, how much the cost. Nobody knows how much it'll cost, but obviously it will be tied to the the revenue here. So we'll see what happens with that. So, but that gives us to our end of our show. So thanks for joining us, everyone, and we will be back in a couple of weeks where we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're also going to have Tiffany on from 1 Mile at a Time. She's going to talk about her new venture, Points.me. Point Me? Is that what it's called? Which is a new software that they're going to be doing. And we get to chat with her a little bit. And we'll see if Marshall is available about some shenanigans. And also we're going to see Charlie Hagedorn. He's coming back from his trip. He's right now in flight to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So he's going to join us to talk a little bit about how it is to vacation in Saudi Arabia. So that should be a good one as well. So I think we're good to go. And everybody have a nice weekend coming up. And for those of you next weekend in Dallas, we'll see you there at the barbecue, and safe travels out there. And anything you have anything to add, Marshall?
Nope, it's fun being here. Fun show. I really enjoyed hearing about Mike's transatlantic cruise. That's something I'll even pack a bunch of suits to do sometime. So we'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out for me. But we'll figure. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.